Good evening, Star Wars fans. Coming to you live with another edition of Holotheatre. As always, I'm Dan Tartaglione. Hopefully, I never change. Joining me tonight is probably the best player in California right now, Connor Britton, better known as Stubbly. Connor, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, Dan. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I can't complain. And glad to have you on. It's been, you know what? I think this is your first time being on, so it's been,
Mhm.
you know what? After everything that you've been through in the last year, it's about time we have you on. Uh, because for those who don't know who Connor is, Connor, you were a Gemp warrior essentially. You were one of those players who found Gemp and got on there, started playing, and then just this past year, you started coming to like major events. Like I know you played in the SoCal area. Like you and I
hmm
have played at some of the locals. What are they like? There's the Emerald Knights, there's Bat
hmm
Mouse's, Ryan Jelson's place, and then there's like another card store that I forget where it is. But before that, like you never played in a major event until the Indoor Grand Prix.
Yeah, that's pretty much the case. I had like you said, I found the game through GEMP, the online portal,
Mm-hmm.
and just really took to it. So just so caught up in it, and I love the deck building and the challenge of it. So, um, you know, Bat Mouse Anthony really did a good job
Mm-hmm.
of like encouraging me to come out to those local events and just break away from the screen and play in real life. And I didn't have any cards at the time other than what I collected when I was a kid, which,
Mm-hmm.
as all of my friends who collected will tell you, uh, were only commons and uncommons. Never had a rare. Uh, but um, but no, you know, Ryan lent me decks. Other people lent me decks, and it was just, I was just so, enamored with the experience and just appreciated how warm the community was that I was like, okay, yeah, I think I could do this again. So
Yeah.
eventually, uh, the Indoor Grand Prix isn't too far a flight for me. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And so at that point, I had gotten a couple of local events under my belt, so I got more comfortable playing, you know, with my hands. And yeah, it was a great time. I understand why everyone, speaks so highly of it.
Yeah, and I mean, you go to the Indoor Grand Prix, and mind you, like I said, this is your first major event, and you make the top eight. Then
Mhm.
on the next day, you progress to the top four, losing to, I want to say you lost to, is it Hayes you lost?
Hayes.
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
you lost to Hayes in the top four. So you lost to the eventual champion. That's not a bad streak right there. You did well at the NPC. Did you play in the Texas Mini Worlds?
I did. I didn't make it out of my heat. I had some tough matchups there, so I,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make it out of my heat, but it was also a great experience.
And then again, you've been playing in the OCS and everything. You make the OCS, and you top four in the OCS too. So you've got a lot of accolades to your name, especially for being somebody who just recently got into the game. And
Well, yeah.
I mean,
No, go ahead. Sorry,
I
I
was gonna say,
interrupted.
like, how does that feel being relatively new? Like, okay, we have players who like are Matt Sokol, who you're looking at somebody who has played, who's won worlds, and now you're like the newbie on the block, and you're making top eights. Like you've been playing the
Well,
game for 10 years now.
I mean, I feel like it's what's the quote, like, you're standing on the shoulders of giants.
Okay.
There are just so many good players who are so willing to dispense, their wisdom and information.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was really starting out, I was emailing Johnny Chu, who is like the legend of all legends in Star Wars. And, at the time, I just knew he was a good player. And so I was like, oh, I saw him playing a deck I like. I wonder if he'll, give me
Mm-hmm.
some info about it. But, it's like there's very little ego in this game, outside of the actual matchups, when you're playing.
That's
So
fair. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I just have benefited from a ton of people, helping me out. So I've been doing a lot of play testing lately with Justin Desai.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been seeing like in prep for Worlds with the private games and everything. If you're always on there with Justin, you're on there with Ryan Saracen, Justin
Hmm.
Shiro. Uh,
Hmm.
I can't think of like
Yeah.
so you're getting in there with games, and I like this. A guy who's new emails the greatest player of all time saying, "Hey, can I get some help?" And that takes a little bit of guts right there. Like,
Well, it's like it's just ignorance, right? It's like I didn't really understand at the time who I was reaching out to. It's like that kid in
that's fair.
Sandlot who's like, who's Babe Ruth, or it's like I just uh but it's I think
True.
it just speaks to the community too.
Mm-hmm.
People are I think there's something unique about our game where it's people are just excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and that's
It's
100%
you
true.
know
So,
just theory crafting. It's one of my favorite parts about it. So
so what kind of advice did Johnny give you?
I think I was asking him about I think I was asking about court. He
Okay.
I think I was looking at his one of his court decks from some major where he had it was one of the first time I'd seen someone playing the Arctic tech
Okay. Mm-hmm.
with broken concentration, and so I was just asking him about how that all worked, and would this
Yeah.
card work, as if his deck could somehow be improved on, right? But it
I,
was just enlightening, and
well,
but I don't know. I get just getting a sense for how these guys approach even deck building. It's like
mm-hmm.
I love, my favorite pet deck is Hoth Walkers,
Really?
and yeah, I just I it's my favorite scene in the it's my favorite scene from all the movies, and it's just like it's just got that special connection,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
So,
I've always tried to make it work, and I always end up hitting a brick wall. But I did ask Johnny if he had ever like built a deck like that, and he said something like, I really don't, I really haven't tried it because you just feel like you're on your back foot the whole time. And
yeah.
that was the first time I had ever really just thought about the approach to you know you know board state, and how you're playing the game is like, oh yeah, I guess dark side doesn't want to be on its back foot from square one. It wants to be the
No.
one being the aggressor. And so like all those little like micro comments have helped me in terms of understanding what makes a strong deck for light side or
Mm-hmm.
dark side. And yet despite all that, I'm still trying to make Potswalkers work. Someday
Well,
it'll be good. I swear.
well, it's funny
And I'll
because
be
like
ready.
I was gonna say because like I know in Legacy or years and years and years ago there was like a Hothwalker objective. So
Mm.
maybe if you win Worlds, like you can convince D&D be like, hey, let's make a Hoth objective around walkers because why not? Like we have all these other like scenes in the movie. We have like Jedi testing. We have blowing up the Death Star. We have the duels. We have TTO. Why
Hmm.
don't we have a Hoth objective anymore? Like seriously, come on. Hoth is like the one of the best parts of Empire.
Yeah, I
It
know.
would
Well, you
be
know what
fun.
someone explained to me once was like that, I think EBO and um, you may start your landing, or not EBO, but oh, yeah, no, it is
Mm-hmm.
EBO. Basically, someone was like, that was Decipher's like first objective. It's not obviously an
Yeah.
objective, but it was like their first attempt at like kind of pushing you towards a certain thematic setup. But
Mm-hmm.
now that I think about that, you know, I guess Set Your Course for Alderaan and MBO that came out in special edition, so never mind.
No,
But yeah,
those were
so
the after those. Those were like the third anthology. So
oh, okay, there you go.
yeah, they
So
were
yeah,
even
so yeah,
past
it
their.
kind of makes sense that
But
that was like the precursor to objectives. But
mm-hmm.
no, I just on that note, one of the things that like really just made my eyes light up when I was first getting into the game was because I got in, I think maybe within a year after the reset.
Okay.
And so this was back on the old uh, site now, like where they listed out all the different virtual sets,
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking at, pre-reset lists, and I was just like
Yeah.
floored by how many cards there were. And there were like
Oh
missions and
yeah.
like
Whoa.
crazy things,
Whoa, whoa,
and
whoa,
I
whoa,
think
whoa,
there
whoa,
was
whoa.
some sort of Walker mission or something,
There
but
is nothing. Missions are do not exist. They were never made. We
okay.
don't talk about missions. So I don't know what you were talking about. Maybe this is fake
Fight
cards.
Club rules.
No,
Yeah,
these are
yeah.
just fake. But no, I mean, like I've seen you try and play the Hoth Walkers, and I think if anybody can take it and make a deck out of it, it's going to be you. Uh, you're one of the first people who's taken no idea and had like really a lot of success with it. Like you're one of the first people who took it, played it well, and don't get me wrong, like people have adapted. Like Hayes won with it.
Hmm.
Other people won with it, but I'm talking like pre-Endor. You were one of the first people who took that deck. Now, is this because of again you didn't have the cards, or and you wanted to play with like virtual cards, or is this just like, oh, I like this objective and I wanted to go with this?
Um, I think most of it was. I think there was some of that. I think
Mm-hmm.
it was the second SoCal event I went to. It was down near, I think, near Cam's place, a game store near him. And I just, I was like, well, what do I play? I only had, I already had a lot of cards for Hoth Walkers and no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was just no idea is 90% virtual cards. So I went with that,
Yeah.
partly in that, but mostly because I just really got attached to the deck. I
Okay.
love the movie, Rogue One. And I like, in terms of just, I think that's one thing that I keep coming back to. The
Mm-hmm.
decks that I really like to play have really strong thematics and just a really, really tie you to the source material when you're playing it. And so I'm doing a disservice to the person who thought up of the no idea objective. Um, Maybe someone in chat knows, but I think no idea, the original objective before 10 Men was invented, was
Mm-hmm.
just like such a purely awesome concept. And I loved the mechanic of putting, rebels who have sacrificed and done their cause
Mm-hmm.
out of play to like continue the cause and move things forward. It just, I don't know, it just was like, and it was kind of an under the radar deck, so not a ton of
Yeah.
people were playing it, which is always a little more fun.
Yeah.
So it just spoke to me and I enjoyed playing it. So
I was gonna
that
say
was the main reason.
I think I remember this event because that was like the last event I actually beat you at. So uh,
Were you
of
ISB? What were you playing?
course I was ISB. That's one
Yeah.
of my pet decks. So I, I've I'm a control type of a player. I adapted that.
Yeah, me too.
Like I've been playing Magic for years, and all my decks revolve around control. So
Hmm.
I'm trying to get to that way with Star Wars, but it's kind of hard because you really can't say no. You can't do that. But that's
Yeah,
besides the point.
yeah. No, I think control decks are, not everyone loves them, and I understand that. But I do like being in a situation where you have some answer for, as,
Mm-hmm.
as many things as you can, and there's a route out of any problem if you just think about it and work
Yeah.
it. And sometimes light side just has the bullets that stop you from doing it, and that's what makes
Mm-hmm.
the game fun. But no, that's what appeals to me about those sorts of decks.
So I have to ask. So in Worlds, you played No Idea for Lightside, and then you played Map. So what brought you to those two decks?
Well, no idea is just my fastball. It's
Mm-hmm.
the deck I know the most, and I kind of felt like in playtesting it did pretty well against the new HD, and since it got hit with an errata recently, it felt like maybe people had stopped teching for it,
Mm-hmm.
or at least didn't need to anymore. So I don't know. It just kind of felt like this is a good time to pull this out. I thought about playing it in the OCF playoffs, but didn't hadn't figured out the deck post
Mm-hmm.
errata yet. So that was just kind of a good fit. And then Map was, maybe in retrospect, a bit of a regrettable choice. But again, it's one of those decks that was really, really good once, and now
Yeah.
no one even thinks about. And so I tried to work in certain things that harken back to what it used to do well.
Mm-hmm.
I put in strategic reserves and ran 4 stormtrooper patrols, which is something you see
Yeah.
ISP do. Um, because I mean, I think one of the things I like about how the game evolves is how when one deck discovers a mechanic like
Mm-hmm.
strategic reserves and patrols, how it can kind of cascade into other decks. Like all of a sudden, people remembered Stormtrooper Patrol is an insanely good card. You
Yeah.
know, it's just says so much. So anyway, so I worked that into map as a way to mitigate damage, but
Mm-hmm.
I ran into 2 Hitcos and a legend with it, which
Oof.
isn't exactly what I was hoping for. Um, so yeah, I went 1 and 2 with map, and then 3-0 with no idea. So
Okay.
it's back to the drawing board and the dark side. But I do think map can still do a lot of damage and is a strong space deck as well as a ground deck. So that's kind of why I
Mm-hmm.
chose it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say like I think I remember like looking at the stats and everything. You were one of the few map players. I know Justin Branch played it as well.
Hmm.
I want to say that was it. And
Yeah, I didn't see a ton of it.
thinking like in this meta where you're gonna see like Hitcos and Legends and Watch Your Steps and then a plethora of light side, like what made you go with like was it just like people you thought people were going to forget about map and you could adapt it to try and work it into the meta, or was it just you didn't like anything else for dark side at this point?
Yeah, I just think dark side is tough because there's such a wide range of things you have to be able to beat.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to beat Hitko, which is just, relentless on the ground. And you also have to
Yeah.
be able to beat Watch Your Step, which, with the new Kessel run is just insanely resilient. And,
Oh yeah. Like
you just can't, I don't think Darkseid can give up on any theater. And so I just kind of was looking for a deck that would be able to hang with either. And I kind of liked how maps um, flip side shuts off retrieval. I thought
true.
that might be tough.
I think you cut out there for a second. You're
Oh,
yeah. Now
can you
there
still
we
hear
go.
me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so I was saying that, I also liked how the flip side of the objective cancels light side's retrieval.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd be able to keep Watcher Step from retrieving a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't end up playing Watcher Step. So that didn't end up being
Yeah, when you go against
downer.
two Hitcos and a Legend, it's so. How did you do? So you said your no idea went 3-0. What decks did you play against with your no idea? And then you said your map went 1-2 against a Legend and a Hitco.
Yeah. Um, the size legend, so not just any legend, but the legend of all legends. And I lost to Justin's Jack Tex, Justin's
Okay.
Hitco, and I'm blanking on who I beat, but Green Tags Hitco.
Okay.
Um,
Chris Peterson. That's I
yeah,
believe. Yeah.
and then
So
for no idea. Oh, so go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say. So your two losses were against two people who made the end of the next cut. So that's nothing. There's no shame in that.
No, no, yeah, I feel no shame in that. Just yeah, if I never see Nabran leads again, I will. It'll be too soon. But anyway, so
That's
for no
fair.
idea, I played against a Watto. I played against
Okay.
and then 2 HDs.
Okay. And I actually saw you playing against the Watto. I kept tabs on you in that game and had like a little bit of a snippet and everything. I know you and I have talked about this separately that Watto is a bad matchup for no idea. Is this
Yeah, I hate
correct?
it. Yeah, I don't like that matchup at all. It's just you can't really interact with their side
Mm-hmm.
with them on Tatooine at all. Since 10 men got eroded. But I think I think you can win space if they try and set up Tatooine occupation, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what you have to do. And that's ultimately how I won. I was just able to kick them off Tatooine and projections.
Okay.
Watto's junkyard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's tough because that you're just constantly facing that 7 side of
Yeah.
Watto, and it's a constant calculation. Do I let him get this free thing, or do I just eat the damage this turn?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a
Yeah.
really close game. I think I won, by like 5 or something. It was very close.
Yeah. And how did you said you beat the two new Hunt Down Vs. What do you think of that deck? Because I know you played Hunt Down a lot. So I know you took it to the Endor and made top 8 with it. So what do you think of the new Hunt Down?
Yeah, I feel like a little bit like the old man yelling at clouds. It's like, oh, I like the old Hunt Down. I don't want to play the new one. But I think it's definitely stronger than
Mm-hmm.
the old one. Just again, the Destiny, the additions of Total Destiny is it's just one of the
Yeah.
strongest mechanics in the game whenever you can get it. So because it gets around evac and um,
Yeah.
evac control and other things like that, limit destinies. But no, I think I mean, I think anyone who chooses it is making a strong choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely the best pound for pound dark deck, I think, in terms of being able to react to anything light side does on the ground.
Yeah.
Um, the reasons I was able to beat it both times was just getting menace fades out and being able to satisfy both. And
Mm-hmm.
against Justin's, so I played Justin as my 6th game. I needed that 4th win at that point.
Justin Desai or Miyashiro? Okay.
Yeah, his Hunt Down was my last game,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, it was looking really bad for a while. I just couldn't find menace fades. I was doing everything I could to find it, and finally, I drew it for Destiny at some point and was able to pluck it with uh, Willard. And
Okay.
so
Mm-hmm.
once you get that out, it totally changes how Hunt Down has to play the game
Yeah.
because they can't ignore you anymore. They have to come to you on Scarif, and Scarif is I mean, that's you're licking your lips when they start deploying to the beach because you've got a beatdown coming eventually if you can just last long enough. So
And were you
um,
able to get a beatdown on Justin, or did you just
I
need?
was.
Okay, because I know
Yeah.
Justin's in the chat. So Justin, I know you're watching right now. How bad was the beatdown that you provided?
I'll let him weigh in, but he correctly assessed at the time that
That's fair.
basically there was a point where he attacked into me at the beach,
Mm-hmm.
and he could have lost all his characters to avoid a counter beat, and instead I think he was like, no, I need to hold this, and so he left 2 characters there, and that was the deciding factor because that's what let me get in a
That's
pretty big
fair.
counter beat.
That's
So.
fair. Yeah, he says he walked into it pretty bad, so that's fair.
Well, I mean, not to mention he put down first strike down. He put down first
Oof.
strike and then attacked into the beach. Um, so the damage he caused to me, I was just able to get back by
Mm-hmm.
attacking him. So
Okay.
um, yeah, first strike is one of those cards that it's such a double-edged sword, and
Yeah, it
you
is.
know
Yeah, it can be.
I
So,
never quite know when to play it.
so again, you're 4-2. You're sitting good. You made it into this Saturday.
Hmm.
What are you thinking about playing?
Oh well, it's a good question. I for dark side, I am. You can ask me every 30 minutes and I'll have a different answer for you. Uh,
Okay.
it's just again, my dark. This is my criteria for dark. It can't. It's got to be able to compete in space with
Mm-hmm.
something. It can't just be a pushover there. Um, it's got to be. It's got to have some sort of damage mitigation, whether that's in terms of like shutting off drain bonuses
Yeah.
or um, or canceling drains somehow. Uh, these are all my criteria for last round. This round, it's kind of like up in the air. I might just play what I feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So,
last night I was testing all sorts of decks and realizing, well, this is probably a really good deck, but I have no idea how to play it to its
so,
maximum. So
so Ryan Searson is saying for you not to play walkers.
yeah, he's
So,
he's a one man campaign to get me off of this,
are
and it's fair.
so are you thinking about walkers?
I was
Are they
earlier
on
in
your
the week.
radar?
They were, and they promptly were off my radar as soon as I
Okay.
played one game versus Watch Your Step. So
Yeah,
You
watch
can you
watch your
can you can
step.
keep all those fancy Walker Tech cards out of your deck. That's a freebie.
That's fair. So for lights out, are you gonna stick with your bread and butter, go with no idea, or are you gonna like pull an audible and go with something else?
I haven't quite decided. I've changed my no idea a little bit since Saturday, just in case I do go with it. But I have a feeling we might see a little bit more no idea, and
Hmm.
I think some of the best players might pick up on that or prepare for it. So,
That's fair.
you know, no idea is still good, but since it got hit with the erratas, it's just it's not going to be able to survive a deck that's prepared for it. I think, like
That's fair.
specifically prepared for it. So, um, for that reason, maybe I'll do something else.
Okay.
But no, I mean, it's the constant, fluctuation,
Hmm.
deciding between a deck that's really, really good that maybe, you know, you only can pilot pretty well versus a deck that's good, but you can pilot in your sleep.
Hmm.
So, um, I don't know where that trade-off will fall just yet,
That's
but
fair.
we'll see.
Okay. So again, congrats on going to 4-2. Again, you had some really tough competition in your pod or your heat and
Hmm.
everything. So being able to getting to 4-2 and making it into to this Saturday is a huge accomplishment of
Thanks,
itself.
man.
I mean, only 32 people made it. So again, like I said, 68 people didn't make, but I mean, hey, good luck. I'm rooting for you as one as a member of
Thanks, Dan.
Team SoCal, and two, I got you in my fantasy lineup. So
I
uh,
saw that. I
I will say
appreciate
this,
the
just as a
putting your
little,
money where your mouth is.
yeah. So I got you, I got Justin Desai, and then I picked MHT as my last one. I
Mm.
will say this, going into like before I submitted it, it was literally like I knew I was locked in on you and Justin, and it came down to Paul Myers versus MHT, and I literally flipped a coin. So if people are wondering, like, I mean, I have faith in Paul Myers. I really do. He surprised me. I mean, yeah, I was down on him after his first game, but after he came back, went 5-0. Like, good job, Paul. I'm starting to believe. So
Yeah,
yeah, one of these days you'll
yeah,
actually make a.
and just on that note, I will.
I was gonna say, yeah, Paul Judge.
Sorry,
One
yeah.
of these days you'll make my team, so don't worry. But sorry, you were gonna say.
No, Paul would have been a worthy pick. Just going off of one thing I just said, one of the things I love about Paul is, you know, going back to being able to take a deck that you pilot really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he does not play every deck he plays, he knows inside and out, and every
That's
card he
true.
chooses is a very well thought out decision, and I've learned a lot from the way he builds his decks. So,
Yeah, and
um,
he kind of reminds me in a way of like Tom Kelly. Tom Kelly plays what he knows.
mhm.
He's ready for almost every matchup against what he knows. So yeah,
Yeah, and I've drawn a lot of inspiration from him too. So
that's, that's great. I like how you're getting inspiration from well-known players instead of somebody like me.
well,
So
you helped me feel comfortable in the community, and
hey, that's what I'm here for.
I owe you that for sure. I remember asking you at Emerald Knights in Burbank, what sleeves should I be buying for my cards? And so it
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
you were you were a big part of that.
And then literally, like we go to Endor, and it's like you got almost the exact same sleeves that I have. But
Well, it's because you told me what to get.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm a fan of the Ultra Pro, whatever they're called. So I know people like Dragon Shield, but I like
Hmm.
the field of what I use. But speaking of worlds, we've been talking a lot about it. We're still what 3 days away from essentially day two. Just go looking back at some of the stuff. So again, for day two is open to anybody who qualified. So if you went 4-2, congrats, you made it into day two. If you went 4-2 and better, I'm sorry. Again, so it's going to start. It's 4 games instead of 6 this time, so it's not going to be as long of a day. So
Yeah.
I am so thankful for that. Um, it starts around 10 a.m. on Eastern time. I wish it was 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. Pacific time, but what can you do? It's an East Coast bias.
Hmm.
So it looks like so basically what's going to happen is everybody's going to come in to day two with their record intact. So say you went 6-0. Well, you're 6-0 for day two, so you'll probably be playing somebody who is currently 6-2 or 6-0. Right now, as it stands, there's only three people who are 6-0. Bastion, who I'm assuming most people are not surprised about that. Joe Olson, another good player. And then somebody who really surprised me going 6-0 is Chris Kelly.
Mm.
Like who put Chris Kelly going 6-0?
Is
Not
that,
me,
I mean, that's got to be a joke, right?
right? I'm just saying. But so after that, the top 8 players will advance on to day three. Day three is this Sunday. You'll be playing your standard match play rules. Everything starts again at 10 a.m. And basically, so the top four and the 5 through 8 are going to be shuffled together. Uh, and then you have match play. It's going to be 6 games long. I want to say they're going to extend the timers. I know they usually do that, but don't quote me on that. So, and then yeah, that's all we've got for Worlds. No,
It's going to be an exciting finish.
I'm not saying that I'm not happy. I'm just completely surprised. Like I would expect Paul Myers to go 6-0, not Chris Kelly. So, and if you want to check out and see who is advanced, all 32 players, again, here are the list. Chris Schoenthal posted them on the forums. You can see we have a lot of good players. Again, Bastion has made it. I want to say, like, we've had multiple world champions make it. Bastion made it. Justin Desai made it. And Matt Sokol also made it. Um, Matt Lutz, CRG, made it. So Matt continuing his year of dominance. Like I said, Joe Olson, he is currently 6-0. But I will say this: the biggest story of all had to be Fernando. Like Fernando was making a lot of waves. At one point, I know he was 3-0. He lost to Chris Kelly, but I want to say he's currently 5-1. So congrats on this. This is his first ever tournament.
Was he?
So
Is he Shadow?
yeah,
Yeah, that was so impressive. I was actually
yeah,
really excited
I
about
loved
seeing
watching
that.
him.
Yeah,
So
that was really, really, really exciting to see. But I mean, that's again, I think that just it goes to show you how
exactly.
valuable GAMP is as a tool. It's
Mm-hmm.
I think the key to keeping people coming into our game and retaining them. And I really, I'm just so thankful that it exists.
So, and then if you want to check out some of the stats, our good friend Adam Fletcher, he has a lot of the stats and everything. So you see how many. So he posted stats on everything. Like you can see what deck, how it did. Like Hunt Down V, it won 49% of its games. So, I mean, it went 37-38. ISB went 18-51. AOBS, Agents of the Black Court, went 100%. So I believe that was Jared Napolitano. So good job, JNap, going 3-0. Others, and then you can see down here, you got Lightside as well. No Lightside won all their matches, but I mean, there was some higher end ones. Like No Idea went 6-3, so 3 of those wins were for Mr. Stubley. So
There
any
you
of
go.
these really surprise you?
Um, not. I think probably the biggest surprise to me. Let's go back to Dark Side first.
Okay.
I mean, I think Shadow Collective did a little better than I expected, to be
Mm-hmm.
totally honest. Um, our team, Ryan, Adam, and Jared Napolitano.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we worked through a couple of different builds with that, and just couldn't make it work. So I was kind of
Yeah.
impressed to see, and the builds come out of Worlds that had success with that objective. So that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of cool to see. Um, a lot of these uh, are just like, decks that really good players played. Like MHT played Rops V.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know he had been working on that, so no surprise to see he did well with it. Um, but no,
Yeah.
I think for the most part, that breakdown is what I expected. CCT is probably a little higher than I thought.
Well, I mean, CCT, Bastion did play CCT, but at the same time, like, I think, again, CCT is a good deck unless you're running into Hitco. So I think if you're ready for Hitco, you have a chance. So, but
Yeah,
what surprises me is, what doesn't surprise me, though, is IE going 8-4. Like, I know a lot of good
yeah.
players played IE, so.
Well, yeah. Well, again, talk about Paul Myers. He knows that, like the back of his hand, and
Mm-hmm.
Tom Kelly, I think, played it.
Yeah.
So no surprise that that did well. Um, Jared is saying in the chat that ISP being mediocre is a little surprising. Yeah, I think that's another one of those decks that's still really good, even though it got hit with the errata. But I am a little
Mm-hmm.
surprised to see it right at around 50. I would have thought it would be a little higher.
Yeah, and I think that's just because, like, right now, like you said, there's so much for light side that you have to contend with so many different variances.
Yeah. Um, as for light side, I think let's see, what did we see over there?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing,
Um,
the first thing that I see is Legend, or Legend, Watch Your Step. Like, Watch Your Step
I think
went,
yeah,
it had out of games with no with more than 10, like 10 games that are played, Watch Your Step had a pretty high win rate. But if you look at them,
yeah,
like, Hitco only went 40-38. So, I mean, everybody's saying that it's a really good deck, but again, it didn't have the best. I will say this though: there was a lot of EBO and Hoth
hmm
CPV decks, so that surprised me a little bit.
yeah. I think just the prevalence of HDV is hurting Hoth CPV because now with that
Yeah.
um, with those that the Destiny adders you can break through those speeders immunity, and
Mm-hmm.
that really changes the whole thing. And especially once you get rid of Luke, then you flip and they no longer drain 3 in space, so
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't surprise me a ton. But Jared's correctly pointing out that I think Watch Your Step did really well because it's such a good matchup against
Yeah.
HDV. I think I'm just more surprised that Watch Your Step wasn't played more. I was kind of expecting that to
Yeah.
be, neck and neck in terms of number of decks with Hitco. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm a little surprised how much Legend was played too. And honestly, I'm surprised Legend is in its bracket for number of games played, the second highest winning percentage. I thought Legend would have had a rougher
Yeah.
go of it in
I
this meta.
agree. I will say this though. I noticed that, like, Old Allies, that right there is just straight Justin Branch. He played it. He went 2-1 with Old Allies. So maybe Old Allies isn't as bad as people thought it was. And
hmm
unfortunately for Scott, Scott was the only profit player. He went 1-2.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
But if you're
Yeah.
looking to see like a further breakdown, again, Adam Fletcher provided us with again a lot more. So again, one person played AOBS. There was one ASM. So again, even though like there seemed to be like a lot of the same decks, like there was a lot of Hunt Down V, there was a lot of ISB. There's still like a plethora of decks that were being played. Are you still good?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, there was just like a straight plethora of decks that were being played. Like,
Yeah, I'm really happy with the variety for sure, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of conclusions have been drawn based off what we
mm-hmm.
see this weekend. Um, I wonder if Hunt Down and Hitco will still be the top played
Mm-hmm.
decks, or if we'll see even
Yeah.
more of a variety than we did day one.
Yeah. And then if you're wanting to see the deck list, they're already posted. They were posted, I believe, Monday. So they're already out there, people. You can see, you can check and see what Conor played for his his no idea. You can check Bastion's decks, and what's nice is once you download them, you can actually import them to GEMP right away. So that's I love that.
Oh man, yeah. And let me just take a minute, quick shout out to the whole GEMP team. What they're doing is just
Mm-hmm.
so amazing. The fact that you can download a deck list and upload it without, having to individually click cards, it just makes such a difference. Uh,
Yeah,
Again, I think all of these features that make it easier for people to, you know, catch up to speed with this incredibly complex game we play is just really really cool. So I appreciate everything that that whole team is doing for our benefit for free.
yeah,
Unreal.
exactly. Uh, Paul Myers asks in the chat, why do you think Watcher Step did so well against Huntdown V?
I think that its ability to, well, first of all, hunt downs. I think hunt down, if it's prep for Watcher Step, can compete,
Mm-hmm.
but I just don't think it can really hang in space. And so
Yeah.
there light side's going to be spreading to 3 systems pretty easily, and then it can just start hunkering down at a site on the ground. It's got so
Mm-hmm.
many tricks it can play, like blast the door kid, or dodge, all of these sorts of
Mm-hmm.
things. And
And
so I think what hunt down has to do to make up for its disadvantage in space is way more than what Watcher Step has to do for its disadvantage on the ground.
yeah,
If that makes
and I
sense.
think you hit the nail on the head. Like if Watcher Step can control even just one battleground site and have Menace Fades in effect, okay, that's a big thing. You have the ability to play multiple controls to cancel their big drains.
Hmm.
You're retrieving, and you got to think about it this way: there's not a lot of force drain bonuses outside of Kessel for Watcher Step. So
That's still a drain too.
it's still
So
it's exactly it's a drain
happily
too.
do that.
So you really, I mean, even they can play resistance to cap it. They can play, or they can stay on the seven side to cancel the +1, but it's still two. So
Watcher Step, yeah,
if they're canceling your drains, losing one card to you. Plus, you can play Luke the Last Jedi, who is a
yeah,
ability 7. He's hard to hit. He has immunity, and he can cause a cancel and redraw on your destiny. That's so good.
yeah. He's really great for that deck. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just Watcher Step has so much evasion at its disposal that it's just a nightmare for Darkseid to chase them down
Yeah,
and clear them from the site once they're flipped and can play stuff from Lost and all that stuff.
exactly.
So
So, yeah, so there's a lot to go on for Worlds, but I think it's time we go into the swing and a miss. Got a few questions to ask about, and then all we have left is
sure.
our lore questions. So, yeah, let's start off with some swing and a miss questions. Love to have some interaction with the chat. So, yeah, if you're let's do some swing and a miss questions. So for the first one, Hitco and Huntdown V will continue to be the most played decks this coming weekend.
Uh, do I go first or do you go first?
So you go first.
To quote Poe from episode 7. Okay, I will say that is. I will say that is a hit. I think it'll. I think we'll see a lot less of it, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I think we'll see a lot more of. I think we'll see. I think they'll still be the most played, and I think we'll see them, shaken up a little bit, tweaked,
Okay.
tweaked based off of what we see. Because I still think they're just so inherently strong that
Yeah.
now that we have a sense for what the meta is now, people will feel comfortable going back to those with a couple of changes.
I mean, I think it's a hit as well. Hunt, as you said, Hunt Down V is probably the most popular deck. It's the most popular dark side deck for a reason because it can contend with Hitco, and Hitco is really really strong. Now, I think now that we see a few of the Watcher Steps and one has capability, I think a few people will gravitate towards Watcher Step. I know Tom Kelly played it. I know
Mhm.
Worf's played it. I know Charlie played Watcher Step. So those are three good players who know how to play Watcher Step. But yeah, I think it's going to be, they're still going to be the most played deck. But yeah, I agree. It's going to be a little bit smaller of a margin, especially because we're only down
Yeah,
to 32 players. So, okay,
couldn't agree more.
on to question two. At least two players who went 4-2 this previous weekend will make it to day three.
Whew, okay. Well, now I need to take a master look or
So do
look at the
I.
master list of 4 and 2 players.
Do we? Is there a
At
list
least
out there?
two
Because I'm gonna look.
players.
I'm gonna look for it. Does anybody have a master list of the like the 6-0, the 4 or the 5-1, and the 4-2? Because I looked and couldn't find one. All I saw was the people who progressed over. But we'll wait
Yeah,
on that. Okay, so I know. Uh, Paul, do you know where on the
at least
forums?
2 players. Let's see if I can
Like I
pull
said,
this
I
up.
got the day two comp, the competitors. Oh, here it is. Okay, it's literally on the same one. So, you know what? Let me bring it up really quick.
There we go.
Yeah. So, Bash and Chris Kelly, Joe Olson are all undefeated. Fernando, Justin Desai, Steve Baroni, Jared Napolitano, Matt Sokol, Aaron Kingery, and Paul Myers are all 5-1. So let's look at our 4-2s.
Oh man.
There's some really good players at 4-2. And
Yeah, I mean there are just a ton of good players there. I think that's a hit. And that's not to say anything, about the 5 and 1 and up, but
mm-hmm.
I think it's just such a. I mean, there's just so much competition here. I think
Yeah,
with all the with variants and all that, I think 2 people getting in there out of 8, I think that's pretty reasonable.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I'm looking right now. So you got to look at the strength of schedule too. Uh, Zemo at Crypto has the second highest strength of schedule out of everybody. Only Fernando has a higher one. So I think
Hmm.
that's going to come into play. Tom Kelly has a pretty high one too. After that, Timo played really, really well, especially in his last game. Like
Hmm.
I know he won. He won it because his opponent timed out, but at the same time, he came back to win that game. So I wouldn't sleep on him. There, like I said, there's a lot of players at 4-2 who are just really, really good. Like we see Greg Shaw, um, Matt Lutz, who's having a good year, Drew Lichtenstein, who's having a good year. I wouldn't sleep on any of these players, so I think it's going to be a hit.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy hit for me.
I mean, is it sad though that out of everybody, Paul Myers has the lowest strength of schedule?
Well, I mean, that's nothing new. I mean, how do you think he won all those OCS games?
Oh, oh,
He's
oh.
playing while everyone's at work. So I mean, how hard can your strength
That's
of
true.
schedule be?
Okay. I want to hear. Let's see. Who are your top 8? Paul Myers is calling this out.
Okay. Top 8. Well, uh, you know, gotta respect, you know, the best.
Mm-hmm.
Bastion's easy call. I'm gonna put Baroni in there. Decide.
It's 3.
I'm gonna put Joe in there. I'll
Okay.
put Chris in there.
So
I'll
hold on.
put
So you had Bastion, Chris, and Joe. Desai and Baroni. That's
Yep.
5.
And then I'm going to put MHT in there.
Okay, that's 6. So you got 2 more, and that's 1, 4-2.
I'm gonna put. Can you scroll down to the bottom of the 4 and
Oh
2s?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I'm looking for Charlie Arlinson right now. I
Really?
think he's
Okay.
putting some really good decks out there and playing really well. So I'm gonna put him in. I'm gonna put, and then I think my last pick, I'm gonna pick Jared Napolitano. I think
Okay.
he's been playing his decks really well lately, and I
Mm-hmm.
think anyone's gonna have a hard out with him. So I see him holding on to that advantage he's got there at 5-1
Okay.
and moving on. Those are my
So
8.
okay. So for me, I'm gonna go Bastion, Joe, Desai Baroni, So that's 4. And then I'm also going to say MHT. I'm going to go with Conor. So that brings me up to 6 because, again, I picked you in my fantasy. Picked MHT in my fantasy too. And I owe 1, 2, 3, 2 more. I'm going to say Sokol and Paul Myers.
There you go. Okay. Can't argue with those choices either. I mean, besides myself, I don't know. Well, we'll see what
And
happens.
I'm going to say
I'm hoping for the variance side of
I'm going to
things
say
to
it
play
this
out
way.
in my favor.
Right now, my final 2. Sokol versus Desai.
Ooh, okay. Love it.
So
I think my final 2 will be yeah, I think my final 2 will be MHT versus Desai.
okay, awesome. So yeah, you can put me on record. You can put me on blast right now. I got Sokol and Desai. Conor, he's got Desai and MHT. So him and I are big on Desai. So I love
The
it.
guy's just so involved in the game right now.
Oh
And,
yeah, like
I mean, he's just he's involved with all the new stuff,
everything,
and
and
he's just a
he's
force.
always
So
on
I
and
can't pick
testing,
against him.
and I love it. Okay,
Oh my
so
god, yeah,
for
it's
our
like
but for our next question, Chris Kelly will not play Hitco at all this weekend.
um, I think that's a miss because if he doesn't, he will be disadvantaging, or well, rather, I'll say he'll be advantaging the entire field. So,
Yeah.
I can't see him not going just because it's like again,
Oh,
if you're gonna go
I even
like
spelled his name wrong. I'm sorry, Chris.
I thought that was on purpose. I kind of thought
No,
that was
no. I literally put this together like 2 hours beforehand, like I always do. But I can't spell to save my life. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a miss. He's gonna play it. If he doesn't play Hitco, I mean, there's something wrong. Okay.
again, it's like it's a pitcher telling you he's going to throw his fastball and where he's going to put
Yeah.
it, and you're still not going to hit it. So
Exactly.
that is a big old miss.
Yeah, Chris Kelly is the Randy Johnson of Star Wars CCG when it comes to Hitco.
Mm-hmm.
And you can quote me on that. Okay,
That's great.
for our last one, the new mall will be in over 60% of dark side decks on Saturday and over 70% on Sunday.
This is such a specific question. I feel like you somehow know what this answer is going to be.
I don't. Again, I wrote these like 2 hours ago. I pulled them straight from the ether.
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Question.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say it's a hit. This new mall is stupid. If you're not playing him, okay, I get that Hunt Down V is good, but this new mall is just so good. You have to play him.
Yeah, I have to agree. He's immediately the best small. You know, well, I will say he's the best small for decks I like to play, which are more control decks, because he can't deploy to a battleground, so he's obviously useless in any sort of offensive attack.
Uh-oh.
You know, but I with that said, I don't expect. I just expect too much hunt down to say this is a hit.
True. That's a good point.
And I think, and especially on day 2, where I think differential, I think has more of an impact. I have a feeling he'll actually, we'll see the least amount of him on Sunday.
Okay, that's fair. I will say this: if Adam Fletcher says miss, and if our stat guru says miss, I might be a little wrong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah.
Star Wars CCG Siri, knows all. So,
wow, I kind of figure that it's a kind of an insult if you think about it.
How's that an insult?
You're comparing Adam Fletcher to Siri.
Well, Siri knows everything and is very helpful. I like Siri, and I like Adam. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I will say, yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
So for our last thing tonight, we got the lore challenge. I know, Connor, again, you came into the game a little newer, so I got kind of a softball for you. I won't be.
Okay, let's go.
I will be surprised. I kind of will be surprised if you don't get it. So I'm gonna put it up.
Oh, geez. Well,
I'm gonna put it
tee it
up.
up for me. And
Your lore challenge. It is a light side rebel, and I'll give you one more hint after I read it. I'll give you two guesses. I'll give you a hint after the first guess. Self-taught marksman and scout from a royal region of Chandrila, inspired by Mon Mothma to join the Alliance. Newly recruited into Madine's commandos as field technician.
okay, so we're dealing with an Endor rebel scout. Let's see. I have a feeling. Has a virtual card been made out of him? Is that a? Can I ask that? Uh-oh, did I drop?
No, you're still there. Yes, I will give you that. Yes.
Okay.
I will say yes. That is your hint, though. I can't give you any other ones.
That's fair.
Because
I
the hint
think-
that I was going to give you was like even easier. So, but
I don't think I'm gonna get this because I think I know who the card is, but I don't. I only know the virtual version. I think it's Melshi's underlying card.
you are
I have
correct.
that right?
You are 100% correct.
Okay, well at least I got the no idea guy, but I don't remember. I can't remember.
You don't know who it is?
The guy is underneath.
See, I was going to say, because like out of all of these cards, this is probably going to be one of the ones that you would know because it is the same picture and everything. Can anybody in the chat tell me really quick?
Yeah, who's Melshi's underlying card?
First person to get it gets the prize. And you know what? I'll share it with, if somebody can get it in the next 10 seconds, I'll share it with you and Connor. Will both get the prize. You have
someone,
10.
Please. Where's Scott Melshi's underlying card? I don't think anyone's gonna save me.
4, 3, 2. Dang it! Jared Napolitano got it with 2 seconds left.
My man!
Corporal
coming
Midge,
in the
yeah,
clutch.
100% correct. Good job, guys.
Thank you,
So
Jared.
yes, you both get the prize. I'll write it down. I'll make sure you guys get your prize. So I'll get everybody their prizes. So good job, Jared. Good job, Jared. You know what? I'm going to say this. Good job, Connor, for getting it was Melshi.
Ooh, he's a Death Star 2.
He's a Death Star True Trooper. Yeah.
Ooh, wow.
That's
wow,
why it was
man.
tricky. So
That, yeah. That's
good
some
job on your
right there.
teamwork.
Thanks, Jared.
So again, I want to thank Connor for coming on this week. It's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been great.
Good luck this weekend for day 2. Good luck to everybody
Thanks.
else who is watching. Next, we'll have a lot more coverage this weekend. I know we have, I'm talking to Scott, trying to get some more giveaways. So if you're not in the top 32, well, we got some stuff to give away this weekend. So, Ryan, I know you're not in 32, so you get some stuff, you got some incentive to watch now. But yeah, besides, I will say this though, stick around on Sunday, because Sunday we might have a little bit of a surprise going on for a lot of people. It's going to be big.
Oh.
And
That's
next
a
week,
tease right there.
next week, I hope to have the world champion on to discuss how they their 2-week strategy essentially, their or more depending on what happens. We're also going to have a special interview with Chris Menzel and Kevin Yap on as well. So next week's going to be kind of big. Next week is also going to be the end of the year essentially. So it's going to be next week is going to be the end for our guests of the year. Connor is in on that. So it's going to be fun. So yeah, it's going to be a good time to end the year on. So again, thank you, Connor. Thank you everybody for watching and have a nice night, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Dan.